Hey everybody, this is the Esoteric Cross. I make videos about how to gain your personal power while learning ancient secrets, and if that sounds like something that you're into, please hit the like button and subscribe and gain insight from this perspective in the cosmos. In this video, I wanted to talk more about Qabala, what it is, and its relationship to ceremonial magic, secret societies, and tarot. My goal was to make this video a great resource to run to as you're trying to understand the Tree of Life and its relationship to why you are working with it. We will talk about the way Qabala is used in different systems, and we'll have an overview of the 4 worlds of Qabala as well as the 10 Sephirot. Let's take it back a little bit and talk about the history. Qabala is an ancient form of Jewish mysticism, and it started to take off in the later half of the Middle Ages. The reason I say ancient is because the foundations of Qabala can be traced pretty far back. We can even see the Tree of Life in ancient Egypt, and also ancient Sumer has their own version of a Tree of Life. Some of the early texts about Qabala date back to the 1st century of the Common Era. You may hear some traditional Kabbalists say to not use this stuff for magic, but if you dig a little deeper, you will find that Qabala is definitely used in magic, mysticism, and to obtain gnosis since its roots. Also, the more that you dive into what magic truly is, you will realize that it's probably not what you thought. You will find that there are different ways that you can spell Qabala, and depending on the spelling, this will tell you what kind of Qabala that you're working with. When Qabala is spelled with a K, this means that we're talking about the more traditional Jewish mysticism. This is going to have a bit more of a religious tone. It will discuss most of the same things as other forms of Qabala, but it may be much less practical, and it will be more conceptual. It also may be a bit exclusive. When Qabala is spelled with a C, we're talking about the Christianized version of Qabala. This is where we're talking more about the Christian mysticism of the late Middle Ages. It's been said that this form of Qabala was used to try to convert Jews. When we're talking about Qabala with a Q, we're talking about the hybridization of Qabala with alchemy, pagan religions, Christianity, and other Hermetic philosophies. I work with this form of Qabala because it has so much freedom involved, and it's not exclusive. It's very inclusive. I'm a huge fan of the hybridization of traditions, philosophies, and systems because you find out that cultures can be on separate ends of the world, but coming up with the same spiritual concepts. If you understand more than one and see how they fit together, you can connect these pieces together to gain a better view of the puzzle. For the remainder of this video, we will be talking about Qabala as it is spelled with a Q. After the Middle Ages, Qabala was blended with other forms of Hermeticism and used in secret societies as this wisdom became occulted, which means concealed. We see aspects of Qabala being used in tarot, Freemasonry, and ceremonial magic. It's so obvious that many occultists have found the wisdom of Qabala to be deeply profound, so they used it within their own systems and used it to create their own systems. There's a special way of using Qabala, and this is within ceremonial magic. We use this Qabalistic Tree of Life in a ritualistic way and use different aspects of the tree for healing purposes in order to bring about changes in our reality. This is what magic truly is. It's a way of effectively changing consciousness. We change the quality in which consciousness operates. Each sphere on this Tree of Life represents a different aspect of consciousness that you can work with, and this brings about a change within your consciousness and also a change in the external reality. There's a known axiom within occultism that states, as above, so below, as within, so without. One of the keys to the wisdom of Qabala is that we are made in the image of our Creator, and all of our consciousness is one, and all of our consciousness comes from the exact same source. What we do to ourselves, we do to other people, and we do to the universe. What we do to other people, and what we do to the universe, we do to ourselves. Integrating this concept into your daily life can radically alter your reality. In this way, you can see how karma really works. How the law of attraction really works. When you're nurturing, giving, and fostering a wonderful environment, you are doing all of those things internally simultaneously. How often have you noticed that when you clean your entire home spotless, that you feel mentally cleansed and possibly even recharged? This is the reason that magic works. This is why we do energy work. When you are using your consciousness and your awareness to focus on something with an intention, This creates the equal reaction in the external reality. You change yourself on the inside, and therefore the outside changes. Just as you change the outside environment, and your inside reality changes. Most of the time, we find ourselves around people and situations that correspond to our level of consciousness at the time. You change your consciousness, you change your circumstances. With all of that said, when we view this tree of life, we see these different aspects of our consciousness. But remember, if we are made in the image of our Creator, then these also represent aspects of God's consciousness or this universal consciousness. In magic, we may want to work with a specific energy, for example, increasing our psychic awareness and intuition. Then we can work with this purple sphere, Yesod. We can work with the energy of this sphere. We can charge ourselves, we can charge an item, sigil, talisman. We can work with this color energy, and we're doing energy work. There are many ways to work with different spheres on the tree of life. When you work with the sphere with powerful intention, then you will see the shifts within your consciousness and the shifts in the external reality. That concept is at the true basis of what ceremonial magic truly is. The reason that we become ceremonial and ritualistic with it all is because the subconscious mind really likes ceremony. The subconscious does not communicate much with words. It's best impressed with symbolism. This is why we work with this in a very specific way in order to bring about specific results. Another way that Qabala is used is with tarot. In fact, it is used very heavily when it comes to tarot. These cards were created in the 1400s as a card game for the elite, and though it was not explicitly told that these cards have a connection with the Qabala, it's heavily implied. The structure of the deck is divided into two main parts. We have the Major Arcana and the Minor Arcana. There are 22 cards in the Major Arcana, and we can see the connection with Qabala as there are 22 paths along the Tree of Life. The Minor Arcana is divided into 4 suits, and we have 10 cards of each suit. We also have 4 court cards of each of the 4 suits. The 4 suits correspond to the 4 worlds of Qabala, and the 10 cards of each suit correspond to the 10 Sephirot of each world. The 4 court cards correspond to the 4 worlds as well, but they can represent the worlds within the worlds of Qabala. That can get a little confusing, but understanding this can really up-level your understanding of tarot and up-level your tarot readings. If you're interested, I do have a tarot course where I teach how to read the cards in relationship to Qabala, and you can check out the link in the description for more information if you're interested. Let's talk about what this Tree of Life truly represents. What is it, and why do we use it so heavily within all of these systems? The Tree of Life is a systematic way of showing how the light of God, the light of awareness, or source consciousness, filters down into the 3D physical reality. The top of the tree can be viewed at as the roots of the tree, and the bottom is the fruit. What does fruit do? The fruit contains the seeds that create another tree. Since we are made in the image of our Creator, and we contain the divine essence of the Creator, we have this innate ability and desire to create. We go on to create our own realities. We create conversations, works of art, inventions, and structures. Everything that we create also contains the Tree of Life energies within it and goes on to make impressions on the world. It creates this ripple effect that ends up altering consciousness and leads to even more creation. The Qabalistic Tree of Life is the process of creation, and it is the map of creation. It is the map of divinity. It is the map of you, the map of your soul. It is the map that shows how divinity materializes. It's the map that shows how we can reach back to divinity. One of the secrets is that this is very closely related to Eastern spirituality and philosophies, but in a much more analytical and left-brained way. Eastern spirituality teaches us a lot about presence, detachment, and awareness. The Tree of Life is showing us the map that leads us to our awareness. This is a much more practical way of going about this process for us in the Western world, where our lives are filled with so many tasks, responsibilities, and time constraints. In the early centuries, there were many people who would practice Merkaba mysticism, and they wanted to understand more about the universe. This is why there's so much emphasis on the Hebrew language. We see the Hebrew language within the system of ceremonial magic and I get a lot of questions about why this is the case. It's because the people who were practicing mysticism at that time were very interested in the idea that God spoke the world into existence. They believed that words held a great deal of power. These Merkaba mystics were also very obsessed with the story of the vision of Ezekiel. They were very much interested in being able to have this vision of the throne of God. The vision of Ezekiel is a powerful and enigmatic description of the prophet Ezekiel's encounter with a heavenly throne and the God of Israel. In a vision, Ezekiel was taken to a heavenly chamber where he sees this throne. There he saw the glory of God manifested in radiant light. The vision described different creatures with 4 faces and 4 wings, as well as a chariot with wheels that sparkled like colorful gemstones. This vision has a powerful meaning if we uncover the esoteric meaning of it. This encounter with mysterious creatures in a heavenly chariot is highly symbolic of the worlds of Qabala. In Kabbalistic interpretations, each detail of Ezekiel's vision is seen as a symbol representing different aspects of the divine and the spiritual journey. For instance, the 4 creatures in Ezekiel's vision, the lion, the bull, the eagle, and the man, are believed to represent different aspects of God and the 4 elements. These 4 creatures can be referred to as a tetramorph. And we see this absolutely everywhere. You can see visions of Jesus surrounded by these 4 creatures. You'll see this a lot associated with the solar figure in the middle, commonly represented by Jesus. You will also see this on the world card in tarot, and also the Wheel of Fortune. You can take a deeper look at this and see that we are really talking about the sun and the wheel of the year. The 4 creatures are the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. Lion is Leo, Taurus is the bull or the ox, the man is Aquarius, and the eagle is Scorpio. Each fixed sign of the zodiac is representing the fullness of the season that it's in. These are representations of the 4 elements. They are corresponding to the 4 worlds of Qabala. We, being made in the image of our Creator, contain this blueprint. These 4 worlds of reality can also be found within the self. You have 4 worlds or 4 bodies: the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the spiritual body. The idea is that there is this consciousness, awareness, and out of it spirals a desire to create. It wants to be something. The light flows into these vessels or spheres of creation until it reaches the 3D physical reality. This is just one of many ways in describing how reality is created by divinity. But the unifying and underlying message is that the energy here in the physical reality is the substance of divinity, and there is some purpose or reason to creation. Understanding the spheres of this tree may help understand the worlds of Qabala. Let's take a look at these worlds. We begin with Atsaluth, which is the archetypal world. Atsaluth is the highest and most exalted of the 4 worlds. This could be called the supernal triangle. It's associated with the mind of God. But this is also within you. It represents the realm of ideas, inspiration, and spiritual wisdom before the mind has started to put labels on things and analyze them. It's sometimes referred to as the world of divine inspiration or the world of archetypes. It was created before the physical world and it is inhabited by divine awareness. Bria is the creative world, and as the name suggests, it's associated with the creative process of the universe. It's related to the vision of creation and uniting with divinity. Here is where there is a self created. It is associated with a level of independence, and here is where we see a blueprint for the creation. Yetzirah is the formative world, and this is what directs the flow of spiritual energy into the physical reality. This is where things are getting fleshed out. It's where thoughts and ideas start to become form. Asiah is the manifested world and represents the lowest of the 4 worlds. It's associated with the physical reality that we experience in our daily lives. It is the world of concrete manifestation and the realm of action and matter. Each world of Qabala contains certain spheres along the Tree of Life. So we're going to go through them and their relationships to the elements in their corresponding suit within tarot. Atsaluth, being the archetypal world and being associated with awareness in the mind of God, is also associated with the element of fire. In the suit of the wands in tarot, we can see 3 spheres in this world, and they are Kether, Hakma, and Binah. Kether is the top sphere on the tree and can be translated to the crown. It represents oneness and pure awareness. This is the connective force, the oneness of divinity that is within all things. There is a desire that is birthed from this place, and Hakma is the second sphere, which means wisdom. This is the externalization of potential that comes from that oneness. Here, there can be so much expansion, but just as soon as structure starts to build around the idea, we can see the forces of Binah at work. Binah is the first sphere on the feminine pillar, which means this is internalizing the wisdom. It is starting to create structure and form. Binah means understanding, and this is exactly what starts happening once wisdom is internalized. Remember, this is the most divine world, so this doesn't necessarily mean there are qualities of personality and overanalyzing here. The element of fire being associated with this world can really highlight the transformative aspects. Fire is an element that burns away the old. The heat transforms properties, and fire is known to spread and expand very fast. The tarot suit being associated here, wands, shows us this life force energy in the physical reality represented by the growth of life coming from the wood. There are strong themes in this suit of creativity, inspiration, spirituality, and authenticity. Bria, being the creative world and being associated with the creative process, is also associated with the element of water in the suit of the cups in tarot. We see three spheres here, which are Chesed, Geburah, and Tiferet. Chesed represents expansiveness and abundance, and Chesed means mercy. There's a letting go quality to this sphere, a place of acceptance, and also a virtue of providing value. This sphere is highlighting the abundance and expansiveness of our vision in the creative process. Geburah is the aggressive, more severe aspect. It actually means severity or strength. Here we see the courage and the power to overcome obstacles and see what our challenges are. Tiferet is the unifying force between these two. It is related to Christ consciousness, the ego, personality, the heart, truth, care, and the will. It is the conscious mind. It is the power and the conscious power where decisions can be made. Tiferet is the link between Kether and Malkuth, heaven and earth. This is where we see that blueprint of creation. With this world being associated with water, we can see themes of energy following the path of least resistance, becoming aware of where the resistance is, and going with the flow of change throughout the creative process. Water is also associated with emotions, and we can see this throughout the suit of the cups. This is really showing us the path to emotional fulfillment, finding what truly matters in life and what fills us with joy, pleasure, and even the opposites to those. Ultimately, it's showing us a path to emotional maturity. Yetzirah, being the formative world and being associated with the mental layer of reality, is also associated with the element of air. It's also associated with the suit of the swords in tarot. The three spheres in this world are Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. It's like the director of where the spiritual energy will flow. If this tool, called the mental body, is clear, then life force energy will grow in Malkuth abundantly. If it is not, then the tree will not bear sustainable fruit. Netzach is representing our victory, emotions, and passions. It is related to movement and will. Hod, on the other hand, is more focused on the analytics, intellectualism, communication, and learning. It's about taking in data. These two things are necessary to creation. We have to learn and rely on reason and logic as well as our emotions and how we feel. Yesod is showing the subconscious or unconscious. Yesod means foundation, and this is like the foundation to the fruit of the tree of life. Here is where everything kind of marinates until it comes out to the surface or comes forth within creation. This world is related to our pain that we can ruminate on, the thoughts, anxieties, and the mental baggage that we carry. Clearing these things out increases our ability to focus, which is how we change the quality of our consciousness. Air is the element associated here, centered around the mind and communication. We see these themes within the suit of the swords. These cards show us the path out of intense pain and what happens when the pain body shows up. It shows us the path to focus and ultimately awareness. Asiah, being the manifested world and being associated with the physical reality, is also associated with the element of earth and the suit of the pentacles in tarot. The only sphere that we see in this world is Malkuth, which means the kingdom, and this is where the work is done. It represents the body, the creation, the outcome, and the world. It also is related to the four elements, which means it's kind of like the microcosm of everything that we've been going through here. These worlds and the Tree of Life energies really just keep going from here. The things that we create contain these Tree of Life energies. Related to the element of earth, this world is all about growth and stability. We also see this theme play out in the suit of the pentacles. There's also a lot of themes of prosperity, work, health, and materialism. It's not only the result and the manifestation, it can be viewed at as the point of realizations and an opportunity to start awakening. These worlds are so interconnected and interdependent on each other. You can even think about something you want to manifest in life, and not only does it follow this process, but it also has specific aspects to it within each world or element. For example, let's say prosperity is something that you want to bring about in your life. There's a level of spiritual and fire energy in there. How do you transform situations? How do you find your drive and energy to get up and get things started? Where do your ideas come from? There's a level of water that can represent the creation process, but also, how do you deal when things change or don't go your way? How do you stay flexible, accepting, and work with challenges rather than against them? There's this element of air that will urge you to look at your thoughts, become aware, and hone your focus. What do you need to learn? And of course, earth, where we gain our stability, set up our foundation, and do the hard work, and we see the growth here. These are all aspects to anything in life that you want to achieve. There are 4 fundamental aspects of the foundation of the universe, which is why they are representing the throne of God. They are the 4 corners of the universe, the 4 bodies, and the 4 worlds of reality. Let's quickly run through each of these Sephirot. The first sphere on the tree is Kether. And I already hinted that this represents the divine light, the source of consciousness. You can view this as the higher self, God, divinity, or the source of the universe. This is corresponded to the fixed stars, and this is what never changes. This energy is stable and has the ability to create anything. This represents the I am principle. The second sphere is Hakma, and this means wisdom. When a desire or idea comes out of the divine awareness of Kether, the infinite realm of possibilities, it's externalized here. Wisdom is an external quality because this is a quality that can be applied. This is corresponded to the zodiac and the angels of the Shem. These are really high and governing aspects of consciousness. The third sphere is Binah, and this means understanding. This is an internal quality, and it represents the wisdom becoming internalized, and this is the understanding of it. This internal understanding is like the psyche being pregnant with so many possibilities, which is why the great mother of creation can be associated with the Sephirah. This is corresponding to Saturn, which is about our discipline, karma, and lessons. Binah represents the understanding of these qualities, and this leads us to knowledge. Daath is not a sphere on the Tree of Life, but rather the abyss. Daath means knowledge. All of the spheres on the tree create this knowledge of self, and from this abyss all of the tree is birthed. It is the hidden Sephirah of the Tree of Life. This represents detachment, the dissolution of self, the dissolution of the ego. It is through this detachment that we can experience these higher states of consciousness. The fourth sphere is Chesed, and this means mercy. This is the loving, giving energy that understands everything is cyclical. This mercy is an external quality because it's giving and expansive. This is corresponding to Jupiter, which is all about expanding. It's about success and gaining. This is where we have a clearer vision of the possibilities of the creation. The fifth sphere is Geburah, and this means severity. This is that internal quality of restriction, boundaries, and energy. This is about what is needed to actually bring this creation into being. This corresponds to Mars, which has that warlike quality. This can have to do with our ambition and what the destructive qualities are that ambition brings. This can represent our challenges and what needs to be overcome. This will ultimately change the face of the creation. Our limitless possibilities start to become limited. The sixth sphere is Tiferet, and this means beauty. This is where we begin to see some results. This is the essence of the creation and is the heart of the creation. When we overlay the Tree of Life on the body, Tiferet is at the center of our chest. This sphere is also associated with consciousness, the will, action, dedication, and commitment. It can also be associated with Christ consciousness in its higher aspects. This corresponds to the sun and is all about the shining, radiant light. The sun is the reflection of the central sun, which can be represented by Kether. Kether is the awareness of the universe that sees through everything in the universe. and Tiferet is the reflection of that, being the conscious awareness. The seventh sphere is Netzach, and this means victory. This is along the external pillar, showing that this will have to do with the application of these qualities. It represents our emotions, love, and passions. It also has to do with our vision for creation and the love for the creation and the process. This is a bit more psychological though compared to the spheres above it. This corresponds to Venus, which is about our love and nurturing energy. This is also another mothering archetype, which suggests that there is much happening with creation within this sphere. The eighth sphere is Hod, and this means splendor or glory. This is an internal quality and is a representation of all of the analytical aspects of self. This is about the mind and how it operates. This corresponds to Mercury, which is about thoughts, communication, and study. It is here that we get very practical about the process of the creation. What knowledge is needed? The ninth sphere is Yesod, and this means foundation. This is the foundation of creation. When the Tree of Life is overlaid on the body, we see that this sephira is located at the pelvis, and this is because this is the foundation on which physical life is created. It represents our astral and subconscious energies, which makes sense as this corresponds to the moon. This has to do with our psychic awareness and our intuition. Each sphere along the middle pillar of this tree is kind of a reflection of the one above it. Kether is the pure awareness. Daath is the detached awareness. Tiferet is the conscious awareness. Yesod is the psychic awareness. And then Malkuth will be the physical awareness. That brings us to the 10th sphere, which is Malkuth, and this means kingdom. This is the kingdom of God. This is everything physical in the universe, and it contains all of the energies of the Tree of Life within it. Your physical body is Malkuth, and everything else along this tree are aspects of your psyche. This sephira corresponds to Earth and the 4 elements. Earth is the vessel that houses all 4 elements, and these 4 elements are truly the microcosmic version of the 4 worlds of Qabala. These are the 4 corners of our personal self, and once we master these 4 elements and our own physical consciousness, we have a strong foundation to work through these higher energies to reach the awareness of divinity. This tree can be viewed at as something that we transcend, and also something that our higher self uses to descend, therefore create. Understanding this can definitely help aid you along your journey. The first thing that I really want to mention before diving into Qabala magic is that you want to be careful with it. A lot of people will say to be careful with ceremonial magic, and it's for good reason. Working with planetary energies and Qabalistic energies are much more potent than working with elemental energies. You might get what it is you're looking for, but you might not have the foundation set up to sustain the changes that occur. For example, maybe you are trying to gain prosperity, so you work with Chesed on the Tree of Life. Then say you run into the prosperity that you are intending to manifest, and it might come about in a big way. But it may be used up very quickly, or maybe coming into this prosperity is very draining for you in other ways. This is because the proper foundation was not laid first. The best thing to do would be to work through the elemental energies first, as they are representing the 4 aspects of you or your personal consciousness, or the 4 aspects of your inner world. This would be the foundation that is needed before diving into these spheres along the tree. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't work with them. It just means that you really need to proceed with caution and to be working daily on building up your energy. If you want more information on the elemental rituals, there are so many great resources out there, and I also have courses on Ceremonial Magick, Tarot, and Qabala, and you can check those out in the link in the description if that interests you. Let's talk a bit more about this Tree of Life and how this is related to tarot and magic. When we take a look at the tree, we can see 10 spheres. There is a hidden sphere called Daath, which means knowledge. This is not a real sphere on the Tree of Life, and it is considered to be the abyss. These other 10 spheres are showing how this source consciousness, life force, awareness, divinity, God, or whatever you want to call it, filters down into the physical reality. Each sphere along this tree is showing another aspect of the divine, and these are energies that are within us that can be tapped into. Malkuth is the bottom sphere on this tree, and it is considered the fruit of the tree. Malkuth is the 3D physical reality and can be represented by the body, the 4 elements, and earth. Each sphere has an astrological correspondence. When you understand these astrological correspondences, Then you understand a bit more about that sphere on the tree. Not only is this showing the path of how consciousness creates reality, but this is also showing how to reach the light of divinity from the physical reality. So this would be the path within magic. When you take a look at ceremonial magic traditions, you will find that they work heavily with the Qabalistic Tree of Life and that the path is even modeled after it. The first part of the path within magic is to balance and work with the four elements, which is represented by Malkuth. You then work on planetary magic, which is represented by the next spheres from Yesod through Binah. Hakma is represented by the Wheel of the Zodiac, which includes the deacons and the 72 angels. And Kether is representing the light of divinity and can be associated with the fixed stars. This tree is a map of divinity, it's a path to divinity, it's the path of creation, the blueprint of creation, and each sphere is representing an aspect of consciousness, a mode of creation. This gets even more interesting when you examine Qabala with tarot. I think it's so important to take a look at the relationship between these two when you're working along your path because the tarot will tell you a lot more about the path of magic and these spheres along the Tree of Life. The tree has 10 sephirot or spheres, and each suit of the minor arcana has these cards labeled 1 through 10. The tree has 4 worlds and the minor arcana has 4 suits. The tree has 22 paths and there are 22 cards in the major arcana. There are 4 types of court cards as there are 4 worlds. Understanding the correspondences of the tarot cards with the tree really unlocks new wisdom and insights within all 3 of these topics. You can use the meditation of the cards within your magic when you know which sphere you are working with. So let's talk about a powerful Qabala meditation. A big way to work with Qabala in a magical way is by doing specific meditations that connect you with the spheres on that tree. It would be like a way of activating that sphere within you. So let's discuss some of the basics with an easy example. We will use Malkuth since this really should be the first sphere that we focus on. You will want to find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed. You can light an incense and a candle that corresponds to the sphere, and for Malkuth that could be sandalwood incense, and a black or a brown candle. You will want to get into an altered state of consciousness, and you can do this by breath work, a simple meditation of observing the thoughts, by watching the candle flame, or even a relaxation technique. This is really up to you on how you do that. After you feel like you've gotten into this altered state, imagine that the color association of the sphere is surrounding you. In the case for Malkuth, it may be earthy colors like brown or it could be black. Let this light grow bigger and brighter until it is filling the room. Dwell within this energy of Malkuth for a moment. Imagine that there is a doorway within this light. As you enter the doorway within your mind, you enter into the colorful light of the sphere that is shining even more brightly than before. Let the energy of the sphere fill every cell of your being. Be enveloped in every aspect of Malkuth. Now, you will start to vibrate the God name that is associated with the sphere. The name associated with Malkuth is Adonai Haaretz. Vibrating is a term that means using a powerful resonant voice that causes a vibratory sensation within the body. As you vibrate the name, you want to imagine that the light energy and color is vibrating too, and that this vibration is carried out to the ends of the universe. Do this a few times and then you will start to vibrate the name of the archangel that is associated with the sphere. For Malkuth, this will be Sandalphon. Imagine that this angel is standing before you as its wings are creating this protective shield around you. Keep vibrating the name until you are standing before 2 pillars in your mind's eye. Between these 2 pillars is an altar with a lantern that illuminates with a color association of the sphere. Each sephirah has a personified being association. For Malkuth, this will be a young woman sitting on a throne with a crown. You will then imagine that this figure is sitting behind the lantern between these 2 pillars. As you see this figure appear, vibrate the God name associated with Malkuth and then the angel name again. Allow the figure to speak to you. Don't try to force anything, just be there with this presence and see what will happen. If you experience any kind of fear, just keep vibrating the divine name and the angel name. Feel the presence of the figure helping you, guiding you, and let it show you what it needs to show you. Let the figure end the visit with them when they are ready. When this is over, step back through the doorway and let the light energy of this sphere become less intense. Slowly let your consciousness integrate back into your physical awareness. This is a fantastic way to work with the sphere on the Tree of Life through meditation, but there are some other ways that we can work with it within magic. Of course, the first thing that I would say to do is to focus on Malkuth for the beginning of your journey, and this is because you want to focus on getting the 4 elements of consciousness in balance before moving on to bigger energies. There are many ways that you can work with Malkuth. Malkuth really highlights the physical reality, matter, manifestations in the body. This is the easiest one to get connected to and the easiest one to become successful at. It's the material world. One of the best ways to work with Malkuth is to focus on those 4 elements. The first element you will work with is Earth, which focuses on the physical body, the health, the growth, the environment, and the finances. Work with the element of Air for the mind, thoughts, truth, communication. Work with the element of Water for emotional maturity, being able to adapt and become flexible with changes. Work with the element of Fire to gain more energy and vitality. This will be great at transforming your inner world. After working through these and setting up your inner foundations, you will be much more powerful in creating changes with these other spheres on the Tree of Life. You can also work with these 4 elements by performing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram and starting your work with these elemental rituals. Would encourage you to dive more into the spheres of the Tree of Life and memorize their correspondences. Each sphere is corresponding to some astrological body, an angel, a divine name, a color, a personified figure, and more. Knowing these correspondences will tell you a lot more about the energy of the sphere and will give practical ways for you to actually work with them. In addition to these correspondences, each sephira or sphere on the Tree of Life comes with lessons to learn as you work through them. For example, if you're working through Malkuth, you are working on the elements in the self. You may be improving through self-development, improving your environment, and you are going to be developing a greater level of discernment. These will show you practical things that you will want to focus on or improve as you work your way up through these energies on the Tree of Life. Today we're going to go over the first few cards in the Major Arcana and their relationship with the Qabalistic Tree of Life. You may notice that the 22 Major Arcana cards correspond to the 22 paths on the Tree of Life. And also, the 10 cards of each suit corresponds to the 10 Sephirot on the tree. The court cards are representing the 4 worlds of Qabala. Though the 22 Major Arcana cards correspond to the paths on the tree, we're also going to look at the relationship of the cards with the Sephirot as well. This is something that we discuss in my tarot course, which you can sign up for if you're interested. The link is in the description below. More specifically, the Rider-Waite deck has a very strong connection to the Tree of Life because of the involvement of these cards with ceremonial magic. Arthur Waite, who designed this deck with his artist Pamela Coleman Smith, was involved with the Order of the Golden Dawn, so he practiced Golden Dawn ceremonial magic. And these cards were intended to be used for an initiate to work with. This is why learning ceremonial magic, Qabala, and tarot are extremely powerful in unlocking the potential that these cards hold. This can dramatically improve the way that you use these cards in readings for people, but of course these cards can be used in many more ways than just divination. The archetypal world will have to do with the initial swirlings of creation. All creation typically begins with a desire. The suit of wands will ultimately have to do with desire, passion, and the force needed to create. The creative world has to do with the vision. The Sephirot in this world will reflect the ones above it, as this essence of desire is being pulled into the world of creative possibilities. This is represented by the suit of cups, which is about change, flow, adaptability, happiness, fulfillment, and relationships. The formative world is largely about the psychological aspects of self. This is about the fleshing out of ideas. This divine light is filtered through the personal thoughts, emotions, and subconscious energies. The Sephirot in this world could be called the psychological triangle, and it's the one that gets more practical, and this is represented by the element air and the suit of swords. Swords have to do with our logic, intellect, communication, but you also may notice that many of these cards show disparity and anxieties. These are aspects of the psychological self. Finally, the manifested world is about the 3D physical reality. It's what is actually manifested from this experience. It is here that we see the actual end result. This is represented by the pentacles, which are about the hard work, process of manifestation, physicalities, and money. Each world of Qabala contains its own tree of life, and this can be meditated on when you link the cards with them. Each of the major arcana cards correspond to a path on the tree of life, but this gets more complicated if you're just starting out learning Qabala. I suggest practicing with overlaying cards 1 through 10 over the Sephiroth, just like we did with a minor arcana, the full card corresponding with Daath. This gives us the path of initiation when it comes to ceremonial magic. It's amazing the amount of insight that you can get from doing this. When you understand the Tree of Life, the meaning of these cards becomes so much more clear, and it really pieces together certain things that might have been confusing before. Also, understanding the meaning of certain symbolism makes this powerful too, like what does the infinity symbol mean? What does the magician represent? What do roses mean? Let's take a look at these cards now in a new way. When we place the Magician card next to the Tree of Life, we can see that it's as if he has his right hand in Binah. The scepter that he holds is white, and it represents the purity of the awareness of Kether. But the fact that he's holding this in Binah suggests that he understands the awareness and the divine energy. He knows how to use it. The Magician is the conduit of the awareness, knowing whatever he places his awareness on is growing the garden of his manifestations. The other hand is pointing into Netzach, which is growing this garden. Remember, Netzach corresponds to Venus, and it's about the nurturing and emotional energy. Binah is related to being the great mother of creation, and it's interesting that there's this relationship here between these two spheres. We can see the altar with the 4 elements that the Magician uses is in Had, which is the sphere that is all about learning and study. This can suggest that the Magician has the knowledge and skill of these 4 elements, and you may also notice that he is not holding any of them or actively using them. He knows that all of the power that is needed is in his awareness. Notice the infinity symbol that's above his head. This could be interpreted as being between Kether and Daath or being in Daath. There's this detachment from all of the psychological aspects of self. The light of awareness is what the Magician is working with. The Magician is creating reality within form from that divine light. He is not wrapped up in the ego or the psychological aspects of self, but he uses it rather to grow this garden of manifestation. The red roses and the white lilies are growing within Malkuth. Let's take a look at the High Priestess card. This one is very straightforward. We have the feminine and the masculine pillars on either side of the High Priestess, just like we do on the Tree of Life. We also have the Tree of Life behind the High Priestess along this veil, which is concealing something. The white cross on her chest is in Tiferet. This is showing us the purity existing within Tiferet, but also the union of the 2 pillars on either side of her. This could be read as B plus J for Boaz and Yakin, which are the 2 pillars in Freemasonry. Freemasonry, Tarot, and Qabala follow the same allegories, and they are all interconnected. The middle moon on her crown appears to be in Daath. This is a suggestion on the knowledge that exists within the depths, within the abyss. Take some time to meditate on this card next to the Tree of Life and leave a comment of anything that you might notice. The last card that we'll look at today is Strength. Notice the infinity symbol here is placed in Binah. Because Binah means understanding, this is suggesting there is understanding of the infinite nature of energy or the infinite awareness that is behind all things. The woman is wearing white, which corresponds to Kether, which is all about awareness, divinity, source consciousness, and the I am principle. She has greenery around her, suggesting that like the Magician, she is growing this garden with her awareness. She calmly closes the mouth of this lion. This card corresponds to Had, the sphere of intellect, learning, and thoughts. So this could be viewed as learning and gaining understanding of bringing awareness to our thoughts. When we step back and observe our thoughts without identifying with them, we calmly and gently close the mouth of this lion that could easily destroy everything in its path. You can look at each card next to the Tree of Life and gain so much new insight. This is meant to be meditated on and for you to see what jumps out at you. You may see something and understand something new about these cards that someone else might not. Let's take a look at the full card. This card shows a person who is dancing around without any thought to the potential danger before them. They have their belongings packed for a journey. One of the secrets of this card is that the person is meant to represent hermaphroditic energy, meaning the masculine and feminine energies are together, in harmony. This energy will split into masculine and feminine, aka the Magician card and the High Priestess. A lot of the journey of the major arcana shows this dance and search for balance between the masculine and the feminine until we end up at the World card, which is also representing hermaphroditic energy. This is where the balance is restored. This is definitely something I encourage you to look into and do some research on. Masculine and feminine energies really mean external and internal, light and dark, force and form. This does not necessarily mean male and female, and this does not necessarily mean good or evil. When we examine the Tree of Life, the full card appears on path 11, which runs from Kether to Chokmah. Kether is the awareness of consciousness. It represents God, essence, divinity, the higher self, the first swirlings of consciousness. This is the union of all. It represents the source of consciousness. This divine light or essence is what eventually manifests into the physical, and it is the essence of creation. Chokmah is the sphere that represents wisdom. This is the first sphere on the masculine pillar of the tree, the pillar of force. It's about external energy. Kether, or awareness, starts to swirl an insight or idea from nothing. Something comes from nothing. This essence of an idea very quickly forms into a thought. The moment that this essence forms into a thought, it is no longer just awareness. This light has split into two. We now have awareness, Kether, and then we have thought or wisdom, Chokmah. The thought or wisdom is an external quality. That thought will then be perceived, and understanding of the thought is born. This is represented by Binah on the Tree of Life, the black sphere. And that is the first sphere on the feminine pillar representing form. This will be an internal quality. This process happens very fast, within a fraction of a second. This is how your soul creates. This is also how the universe creates. The full card represents that path that runs from Kether to Chokmah, meaning this is about the process in which source consciousness awareness or the union is descending to form a thought or wisdom. This will then split this union into two. The full card shows this cliff with crashing waves. This is a representation of the abyss. The full has packed all their belongings and is set on the journey into form, but is not really aware of the dangers that are laid out on this path. Not aware of the upcoming abyss, aka Daath, the hidden sphere on the tree that represents the abyss. Notice this card is numbered 0 and not 1. 0 is all about the void. When we overlay the major arcana on the Sephirot of the Tree of Life, this card will correspond with Daath, the abyss. 0, the void, the hidden sphere. We have the abyss right here within this card. This is about the search for knowledge, self-knowledge, or gnosis, unaware of how the path will unfold. The secrets are hidden and they must be experienced and uncovered. Let's take a look at the Magician. This card is numbered 1, and this is a representation of masculine energy. The path number is 12, and this is the path that runs from Kether into Binah. This is about the spiritual essence becoming form. Binah is the first sphere on the feminine pillar of form. It is very interesting to view this card in this way because it shows how the Magician is the creator of his reality. Notice at his altar he has the 4 tools which represent the 4 suits of tarot and the 4 elements. A sword, wand, cup, and a pentacle. These are the 4 aspects of your personal consciousness. The Magician is about how you have the tools to create your reality via the 4 aspects of your personal consciousness, but also notice that he has this scepter in his hand. This is not a wand. The wand is made out of wood and it is on the altar. What this represents is divine energy. His hand is reaching up toward heaven, reaching up toward Kether, and he is the conduit of this energy. His other hand is pointing toward the ground, toward earth. This could be interpreted as pointing toward Malkuth, which is the fruit of the Tree of Life. and is representing the result or the 3D physical reality. Thoughts become things. The magician is also a gardener. Notice he is growing red roses and white lilies. The red roses are a symbol for the physical manifestations, the passion, and the great work. The white lilies are a symbol for divine energy. The magician is using this divine energy of Kether to create physical manifestations as well as spreading more divine energy in the physical realm. This card is asking you, where do you direct your divine energy? Where do you direct your awareness? The astrological association of this card is Mercury, the planet that has to do with intellect, learning, communication, and the mind. The Hebrew letter associated here is Beth, which means house. Your mind is the house of your awareness. Where is your mind focused? Whatever it is focused on is the house for your consciousness. The light of Kether, the light of God, is flowing into that house and is growing a garden there. When we look at the Sephirah that this card corresponds to, it will be the first one, Kether. This is about divine awareness, how powerful it is, and where it is flowing. Now let's dive into the High Priestess. Remember, the Fool has split into masculine and feminine. The High Priestess represents the feminine. The path association on the tree is the 13th path. It runs from Kether into Tiferet. It runs through Daath, the hidden sphere, and the High Priestess is all about what is hidden, the knowledge and wisdom that is hidden. This is a representation of the lunar goddess. She has the moon crescent at her feet. She has the pillars of the Tree of Life on either side, Boaz and Yakin. Notice the writing on Boaz is white and the writing on Yakin is black. Like yin and yang, each one contains the other. Masculine is feminine and feminine is masculine. The separation and distinction is an illusion. Duality is an illusion. Behind the High Priestess is a veil, which has pomegranates in the shape of the Tree of Life. You can only see a sliver of what is behind this veil. What is this veil truly hiding? It is water. The High Priestess guards the depths of the subconscious, which is represented by water. She guards the depths and the power of the self. This card suggests to dive deeper and to look at things differently. She holds the Torah in her hand, but it is spelled T-O-R-A. There's the subconscious suggestion here that's about looking at the sacred texts, looking at religious texts, and do not take them at face value. Do not take them literally. There's a hidden depth within them that has been concealed. They have double meanings, and they are allegories. This is about looking at these ideas from a different perspective and with a deeper lens. When we are talking about esoteric astrology, the sun is masculine because the light is protruding and penetrating, and the moon is feminine because it receives the sun's light and reflects it to earth. The sacred feminine is all about the subconscious mind. The sun, the conscious mind, programs and shines onto the moon, the subconscious mind, and the moon reflects the light or gives birth to earth, the physical reality. This is not literal, this is an allegory. This card is showing the part of us that is hidden, subconscious, the wisdom of how we truly work but have not found yet. This is about the secrets that our sacred feminine or subconscious holds. Our subconscious holds all of the secrets that we need. One could say it holds all of the secrets of the universe, as it is connected to all things. This is about your intuition and psychic abilities, perhaps that are unexplainable by the rational and logical mind. This card can be a call to action, to explore the hidden depths of the subconscious, explore the secrets of the self and the universe. Rachel Pollack in her book 78 Degrees of Wisdom states that this card is also suggesting to not stay in this passivity for too long. We need to take the inner knowing from this card and put it into divine action, hence the reason that this card is placed on the masculine pillar on the Tree of Life. The Sephirah that this is corresponded to is Hakma, which means wisdom. This is showing that this card can also mean that the wisdom needs to be applied. Sometimes we have the answer to something, we know the next step to take even though it may not be logical, or that we know something that we do not have a logical explanation for. That is our divine wisdom within Hakma that received this light from Kether. There are so many layers to these cards, and we can go even deeper than we did here in this video. The middle pillar ritual is said to offer numerous benefits to those who practice it, including increased mental clarity, improved self-awareness, strengthened willpower, enhanced spiritual connection, increased psychic abilities, and a greater sense of inner peace and harmony. It's believed that by balancing and purifying the various energies within the body, the middle pillar ritual can help the practitioner achieve a higher state of consciousness, access deeper levels of intuition, and cultivate a stronger connection to the divine. This ritual is extremely helpful when it comes to learning how to work with energy within the aura, and it's truly foundational to future work within the realm of ceremonial magic. The middle pillar is a self-initiatory technique popularized by the Golden Dawn magical order. It involves imagining a pillar of divine light running through your body and linking you with the cosmos. During this ritual, you will visualize the spheres along the middle pillar of the Qabalistic Tree of Life within this pillar of light. The technique is designed to balance and purify the body, mind, and spirit and harmonize the practitioner with the divine energies of the universe. It's one of the first rituals that you might learn along your path within ceremonial magic, and it's also a ritual that many people have found useful even if they don't practice ceremonial magic. We need to explore a little bit about what magic is and what we're really doing. A big part of this really comes down to something called chi energy. This is the energetic substance that is constantly building structures within the physical reality. Everything here in the physical reality has this life force chi energy, and it can be manipulated with consciousness. You can think of it as the energy that lights up the body, moves the muscles, fires the neurons, keeps the heart beating, grows life within the plants and animals, or the energy given by the sun. The food that we eat, the water that we drink, the air that we breathe, all of it is containing and also representing chi energy. It's because these substances give us energy and sustenance to feed off of. The practice of ceremonial magic is a way of realizing this chi energy is there, feeling it, working with it, and ultimately manipulating it. When you manipulate this chi energy, it has an effect in the physical reality because it's ultimately what creates it. There's also the principle of as above, so below. What we do in our internal reality has an effect on the external reality. This is because they're truly one and the same. You change yourself, then you change your surroundings. You change your surroundings, then you're changing yourself. Essentially, the practice of magic is like a path of self-development, self-actualization, and self-knowledge. But this is not all psychological, it's also energetic. Magic is a way of creating a change within our physical reality, but this change really takes place in consciousness. A change in the quality of consciousness is reflected back to itself, creating the reality of the will. If you have specific goals in your life, or things that you want to manifest, then this might be a good path for you. The idea is also that it's not necessarily centered around attaining and acquiring things for the sake of it, but rather a way of developing the self and finding lasting fulfillment within the process of attainment. This light of divinity enters into these spheres called Sephiroth. They are like containers, and each one represents an aspect or state in consciousness. While we perform the middle pillar, we are kind of like activating the Sephiroth along the middle pillar. Now, there are 3 pillars along this tree. The right pillar is considered to be the masculine pillar, and it could be called the pillar of mercy. This is the pillar of force. It's considered to be masculine because of the spheres along the pillar represent external qualities that can be applied. These forces are expansive and contain forces with a lot of potential and could represent qualities of vision. The left pillar is considered to be the feminine pillar, and it could be called the pillar of severity. This is the pillar of form. It's considered feminine because the spheres along the pillar represent internal qualities. These forces are restrictive, create boundaries and structure. They contain qualities that represent control and growth within the boundaries of limitations. And then we have the middle pillar. It's the balance between severity and mercy. Both severity and mercy, force and form, masculine and feminine, are needed in the process of creation. The middle pillar is the balancing element that unite these opposites. When the tree of life is overlaid on the body, you can see that the middle pillar is like the channel of energy that runs through the center of the body. It even has some resemblance to the chakra system. The top sphere, Kether, is like the crown and represents the awareness. It is placed at the crown of the head. The brain has this symmetry with the left and right brain, and there's this place of balance in the corpus callosum. We have the center of the throat with Daath, which means knowledge. Tiferet is placed around the center of the chest related to the heart, and if grown big enough, encompasses the solar plexus. Yesod, the foundation, is placed at the privates, representing our foundation of life. In Malkuth, the kingdom is really placed at the feet where we touch the earth. Each sphere represents a specific type of awareness. The middle pillar ritual is very useful when it comes to creating a deeper sense of awareness in life, awareness of the self and awareness in the physical. Malkuth, the kingdom, is related to our physical awareness and connection in the body and our sense perception. This is because Malkuth is everything physical in the 3D reality. It is the fruit of the tree of life, the results and creation. Yesod is our psychic awareness. It is our connection to the unconscious. It helps us perceive the subtle energies around us. And since Yesod is the foundation and the seed of life, it also is potent energy that can be used for creative purposes. Tiferet is our conscious awareness. This is the link between heaven and earth, or God and man, and the balance between severity and mercy. This is related to our chi energy, ego, and what we do with aspects from the unconscious once they do become conscious. This is about our will, care, and truth. Daath means knowledge, but represents our detached awareness. It's technically not considered a sphere along the tree of life, and can be called the hidden Sephirah or the abyss. This is the place of dissolution, letting go, and associated with the link between the one consciousness and our perception as an individual. This would be detaching from the individual self or ego. Kether, the crown, is our pure awareness. The divine name associated here is Eheye, which means I am. This is the oneness. Kether is a state of consciousness of isness. From this place arises desire, and this desire flows through the process of the tree into the physical reality. Practicing the ritual of the middle pillar is a way of seeking balance, awareness, and also an attempt to perfect consciousness. Performing this ritual is a way of pulling divine light or chi energy from the source of creation down through the body and the aura. What you're doing is energizing each center of psychic energy within the aura with this divine substance. This is a way of purifying these aspects of awareness and re-spiritualizing the physical form. To perform the middle pillar, imagine that there is a top of the universe, and in that place is a bright white light representing divinity. As you breathe in, imagine that the light descends, stopping above the head. Breathe in as this light is pulled down, growing a bright white sphere. Half of it is in the head and half of it is above the head. This is your higher self and your connection to divinity. Breathe in and grow this sphere 3 times. Then breathe in again and vibrate the divine name associated with Kether, which is Eheye. Vibrate this name 3 times. Breathe in and pull the light from the top of the universe through the first sphere and down into the throat. Repeat this as you grow a bright pearl gray sphere representing Daath. This is your link from your conscious to your higher self. Grow this sphere 3 times by breathing in light from the top of the universe. Then vibrate the divine name associated with Daath, which is Yehovah Elohim. Grow the sphere bigger and brighter and vibrate the name 3 times. Repeat this again and pull the light down through the sphere at the head and the throat and now into the center of the chest. Grow this golden sphere of light 3 times with the breath, and then grow it again while vibrating the divine name Yehovah Elohah Vada'ath. Repeat this again and pull the light down through the head, throat, chest, and now into the center at the pelvis. Grow this purple sphere of light 3 times with the breath, and then grow it again while vibrating the divine name Shaddai El Kai. Repeat again and grow the black sphere of Malkuth at the feet. Grow this sphere 3 times with the breath, and then vibrate Adonai Haaretz. You have the spheres of the middle pillar grown within the body with a beam of light running through them from the top of the universe to the bottom. You can even add in the circulation of light after the middle pillar. Imagine that your light chi energy circulates in your aura as your torus field. Keep breathing as this light circulates rapidly, creating a hard outer boundary of your aura. You can do this until you feel satisfied, probably not too long, but this will help with your perception of energies outside of the physical body. The words that we had vibrated in Hebrew are Eheye, Yehovah Elohim, Yehovah Elohah Vada'ath, Shaddai El Kai, Adonai Haaretz, which translates to I am the Lord God of knowledge and wisdom, the Almighty living God, the Lord of the earth. This is a way of affirming to the subconscious mind that you are the source of consciousness within a human body. It's a way of reminding you of your connection and ability to change and create reality. I have the courses that I offer listed in the description below, like my course on studying tarot with Qabala, which is something most courses on tarot don't offer. There's also a link to where you can book a tarot reading with me, and I'll also have the link to my Patreon if you're interested in some live streams. And I hope there was something new that you were able to take away from this video. If so, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.